So now we're going to look at the executive orders and such that Biden has signed in the first couple days. So it looks pretty good, right? Re-engage with the World Health Organization, rejoin Paris Climate Agreement, revoke Keystone XL, et cetera, preserve fortified DACA. So all this stuff looks pretty good. The only thing here that's slightly curious is the vaccination campaign. And this campaign follows like the same model of first healthcare workers and then people who are most at risk and such. So here's an article from the New York Post from yesterday, how New York's COVID-19 response for the vaccine has derailed. So basically what you saw in New York is that what they were trying to do is be like, oh, we must be really principled in this and make the people who need it most get it first. But the thing is, they weren't able to do that. And instead of laxing their restrictions and giving out the vaccine to anyone who was available, they're like, no, our precedent comes before actually getting people vaccine. So is this going to happen with Biden with his 100 million vaccines? Maybe, maybe not. But what you're seeing here is this happening in New York. This is happening in other states. So I'm not too hopeful that he's going to get the 100 million vaccines actually in people's arms in 100 days. So now we're going to go and look at the specifics of some of these.
All right, let's look at day 2. So like Nan said, most of the stuff has been pretty good. There are a few red flags though. So he recognized the illegitimate leader of Venezuela, the non-democratically elected leader of Venezuela, which is kind of just a continuation of BS U.S. Imperialism.
No one's talking about that.
Yeah, no one's going to talk about that, but we'll talk about it. Now you know he did. That's bad. Remember it. But here's some more good stuff. Did away with the Muslim ban, revoked the Keystone Pipeline, rejoined the Paris Accords, as I'm sure everybody knows because that's the only thing that made it onto Instagram and Twitter.
And that single-handedly solves climate change.
Right? Yeah, and there we go. Since he is now the best climate president ever because he undid one thing that Trump undid.
That's like undidception right there.
He undid it. He extended the eviction, pretty much saying that people can't get evicted because, as we all know, there's not much you can do when you lose your job and can't find another one and can't pay your rent. And he also froze student debt interest. And so, yeah, like he's doing good stuff. More protection for Dreamers and DACA. He's going to review the effectiveness of some of the economic sanctions that Trump put in place, which, again, that's kind of going above and beyond for my expectations of him. And then he's doing more stuff to help kids. Good stuff. So day 2, just like day 1, not that bad. But now let's get to day 3. So we'll start with the good. Some more positive things. Trying to tell the Treasury to really make an effort to get people checks who didn't get checks. Upping food stamps, upping school lunch benefits. There was this executive order called Schedule F that Trump did in 2018, where pretty much it just took away benefits from workers and tried to go after them and get them fired and stuff like that. So he did away with that, trying to pressure people to pay $15 an hour. But here is another thing, just like the thing from day 2, that no one's going to talk about. And he appointed a Raytheon board member to lead the Pentagon. And as we should all know, Raytheon is a defense contractor people thing. So there was a rule that said that, and this guy was a general. So there was a rule that said you can't like be in this position of power if you haven't been off duty for 7 years. So the House voted to get rid of this. They were like, oh yeah, he can do it even though he hasn't been off duty for 7 years. And this is kind of notable because a decent amount of Democrats voted against it, including Jared Golden, our native, is native the word? Our local House representative, who is a veteran
Jared
himself.
Golden is a native of Maine.
He's
500 years of history in Maine.
And he's a veteran himself, so it's interesting that he voted to try to keep a fellow veteran out of power, but it still passed overwhelmingly. And then when we go to the Senate, it wasn't that overwhelming, but it was still a good amount. And then there were Democrats that voted against it in the Senate as well. So then this was just voting to overrule the law that was in place that said he couldn't serve unless he was off duty for 7 years. So then when it came to the Senate actually confirming him, it passed 93-2. The only people that voted against it were Josh Hawley and Mike Lee. And there are some surprising things here, such as that Bernie Sanders voted to confirm him even though he is an ex-defense contractor, big military spending, defense budget dude, which is, just kind of plays into the points that we were making in the last episode where we were saying everyone's a cuck now pretty much. And it's true. Even Bernie, the champion of cutting the defense budget, confirmed him without batting an eyelash. So what do you think about this, Nan?
Yeah, there was an article, maybe it was in the Intercept or maybe it was in Jacobin, I don't remember, but it basically said Bernie was quoted as saying, we will be working within the constraints of what Biden wants. So
Yep.
Biden wanted this guy as his defense secretary. He's gonna
Yep.
get it.
Yep.
That's, and it really feels like no one's fighting for us anymore.
True.
Because even though Bernie has meme status, even though he's becoming the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, people think that's a huge deal. But basically, when you have just major complacency that's going on and just Democrats falling in line and the people falling in line behind them, you're really not going to see anything change.
Nope.
It is really sad to see.
It is. The only people fighting for us are Mike Lee, Josh Hawley, and occasionally Ted Cruz.
I
So
love
keep that in
them.
mind. Keep
They're
that
my
in mind,
favorite
America.
senators.
And Rand Paul sometimes as well.